Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Uncensored CMO. Now picture this for a moment. You are 9 months pregnant and you decide together with your husband to go on Shark Tank and pitch for a new business idea, risking all of your life savings to create a brand new soda brand in the US and go up against the giants like Coke and Pepsi. If that sounds crazy, that's exactly what my next guest did, Allison Ellsworth, founder of the Poppi brand, who has turned it around in just 4 years to one of the most successful, perhaps the most successful soft drink startups that America has ever seen. It's a really fascinating story, and I know you're going to love it. Here it is. So, Allison, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm dying to get into how Poppi became such a big success, but take me back right to the beginning. Where did it start and how did it turn into a business?
Yeah, so I started the company a few years ago, and really it stemmed from previous to this. I started in oil and gas. So I was on the road for about 7 years traveling. And when you travel, you just get what I call is like travel belly, where you're just like your stomach hurts and you don't feel good. And I was just so obsessed with trying to feel better. So I would go to places and I'd actually never looked at the back of a can or a label or read a nutritional, and I didn't understand what ingredients and what they were doing to your body. And it just kind of became an obsession of mine. And that's when I discovered apple cider vinegar. And I know for you, have you ever taken a shot of apple cider vinegar before?
I haven't. However, I have watched Shark Tank, where you get the sharks to try it, and I've seen their reactions. It does not look
It doesn't
pleasant.
look good. No, it's so true. It's like most people don't want to drink it. They know it's like better for you. So I went to my kitchen and I created the first version of Poppi, and I fell in love with it. My husband fell in love with it. So I just became obsessed with wanting to share it with everybody. And after that, we took it to our local farmers market in Dallas. And then the next step in the American dream is obviously to go onto Shark Tank.
And you did, but for anyone who hasn't seen the episode, it's not, you didn't just go on Shark Tank as the rest of us would go. You were actually 9 months pregnant, weren't you?
I was. So it's a theme. When I'm pregnant, good things happen. So I started the company 3 months pregnant. I remember back being life savings, putting in, maxing out the credit cards, and my husband wanting to pull his hair out because he's like, we just bought a house, you're pregnant. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to let this stop me from, getting my goals and being successful. So when I became pregnant with their second and Shark Tank came about, it was just a natural progression of, hey, getting stuff done, and this is not going to stop me. So to be honest, when we first started the process to get onto the show, I was like 3 months pregnant, and it takes a really long time. People don't know how long from like you actually trying to get on the show to being on the show is. It can take a year, I think, for some people.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's only sort of 3 or 4 minutes, the actual bit, isn't it? Where you actually do the pitch.
It's about 5 minutes that they air, but you're in there for an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so let's be real. It's a TV show.
Yeah.
So they want to make sure and get good shots and reactions, and they encourage, all of the sharks to say and do funny things. I remember being 9 months pregnant. Mr. Wonderful, he's like one of the sharks that's a little bit more of a character. And his thing is he calls everyone roaches or whatever. And he called me an apple cider vinegar roach. And then he sat back and he smiled and he was like, obviously I didn't mean that. Right. But you also have them yelling at you like, hey, what's your revenue? How many cans do you sell? Where's your office? And you're just like, what answer do who do I answer right now? And it's very overwhelming that you almost like black out a little bit. And yes, spoiler alert, we did get a deal, and
but it didn't
it
look
was
like
worth
it didn't look like it at the time, though, did it? Because they were going, it's a cottage, it's a small industry. You need much bigger production. You're not spending enough money. You haven't got a brand. I mean, you got some pretty heavy criticism.
Yeah, and it's so funny. We had done about $500,000 in revenue and about 2 years of business, which is really great for 2 employees, and we were manufacturing it ourselves. We had kind of taken most of our own money and built out a little facility. We were in local stores in Dallas, Texas. And it was one of those things where, we did not have quote unquote like a proven business, but I mean, for a startup, it wasn't so bad, but they all started dropping like flies. They were like, I'm out. I was like, oh, this is not going to happen. So then finally, when we did get an offer, we were talking previous to this, me and my husband had talked about what we would do if we got an offer. And I don't think we thought about it. He was like, we'll give you $400,000 for 25%. We're like, deal. Like, it was just like, this is life changing. This will change our lives. We have to do it.
Had you talked about it with him before? Had you decided the point, because anyone watching Shark Tank, you always go in, the same thing happens. They always get negotiated for more equity or for lower investment. So because you didn't even confer, did you? They put you under so much pressure to make a decision.
I had watched every episode up until then to study it and how it worked. And we always saw that if you talked during and we're like, hey, I need a second, they're like, I'm off the table. Or like they almost saw that as like a way of weakness. And so we're like, oh, we can't be seen as weak. So we ran like 30,000 scenarios before we went in there. We're like, okay, if they give this, what would we respond with? And this is our max. But honestly, I don't even, like, that was such a long time ago. I don't even think like what our max or what we would have done. I mean, I think if they would have said 50% or 100% or something crazy, we wouldn't have done it. But it absolutely changed my life. And that was kind of honestly where the journey of Poppi started. We don't even talk about the stuff before that, but after that, we got the deal and we went through a major rebrand.
Well, just on that, because most of the sharks declared themselves out, except for one very important one who actually has got a bit of experience in your category, hasn't he?
Yeah.
As well.
So it's funny because you don't know who the sharks are until the night before. Everyone thinks like you might know. The sharks don't know who you are until you walk out in front of them. Oh. So it's a very like you have no idea what's going on. And so the night before we had learned our sharks, and there was two on there that were like, oh, they have beverage experience. And one was Bethany Frankel. She has like skinny margarita type line. And we're like, oh, great, female founder. She'll get it, right? And the other was Rohan Oza. And he had been part of, I think he worked at Coke for years and had, worked on Bai and Vitamin Water and just had just so much experience in beverage. Yeah. We're like, oh my gosh, we have two sharks that we could potentially do something with. And then we get in there and Bethany was just not having it. She was yelling at us. We made her take a shot of apple cider vinegar. She was not happy and went out.
I thought that was genius, by the way, because if anyone's not seen it, you make them all try apple cider vinegar, don't you? And they're disgusted. Yes. And of course you then turn it around by showing our product and how good it can be. Yeah. And she kind of, I don't think she was too impressed by that. So she was a little salty and not happy with us. Reacting to the shock.
Really funny story in that, because later on with Rohan, he said that she looked at him and was like, hey, do you want to do a deal together? And he told her no. So I think that maybe and then he went in on it and said, I'll do a deal. And he's like, I wanted it for myself because he just believed in the brand that much.
And he went straight in, didn't he? He wasn't second guessing. He was straight in with an offer.
Yeah, straight in with the offer. And then we said yes immediately. We leave. And then it's so funny because right afterwards, they go back to your trailer and you're like, wait, now what? I just got a deal on Shark Tank. Like, what's happening? And
is it like a case of cash they sort of hand over afterwards?
I wish. No, it's interesting because, look, we had no idea if our episode was even going to air. Once again, it had to make good TV. And then the due diligence starts after that, right? Like, actually, Rohan had to look into the business. Did we really do what we said we did? All of that. And that almost took about 6 months. So we didn't close the deal until almost 2 days before our episode aired. We loved it because he invested, and then his VC, Kavu, also invested and really believed in us from the beginning.
That's amazing. Yeah. And what advice did he give you? Because if I look at what you presented on the show, it wasn't even called Poppi, was it, at the time? What you presented and what we have today, only 4 years later, they're quite different, aren't they?
They're so different. It was called Mother Beverage. It was a play off of the mother of vinegar. Everyone's like, was it because you were a mother? I'm like, no, but that's cute. But we looked at it, and I remember him saying, look, you have a fantastic liquid. Your story's amazing. You guys are great as founders, but for lack of a better word, your branding is shit. And he goes, we got to do something about this. This is soda. I've been looking for something like this my entire career. It's here. Let's do branding. And it was funny at that moment, the first person, even before I met Rohan in the trailer on Shark Tank set, was his right-hand woman, Stevie. And she comes in and she's just like talking to us, and she's like, we're going to do this rebrand. And we worked so close with her, me, my husband, and Rohan, and we took 9 months off, and we went through a ton of branding exercises. So we're like, okay, we know we have this liquid. We know it's soda, but like, what are we saying? What do we look like? We wanted to be a modern soda. So for us, do we do colored cans? Do we do white cans? Which for me, white was screaming healthy, but color screams taste. Do we want to have real fruit on it, or do we want it to be modern fruit, right? We went through so many exercises and branding, and, we were thinking through, like, if you think of the word soda, it has this emotional connection people have, and they want to be drinking soda at the movies or with their friends or at a sporting event. But now soda, quote unquote, is a dirty word. And so with Poppi, we give you the freedom to love soda again at its best without all the sugar and no BS ingredients, right?
Yeah.
And so once we kind of went through that process, we're like, oh, this is simple. But what was really important is we didn't want to be like this functional, better for you tell all thing. We wanted to be a culture first soda. So with launching it, we wanted to go, we leaned in fun over function. So we're like, let's go color, let's go crazy marketing with influencers and go social and digital first. And it was just from the DNA from the beginning. And then we decided to launch March of 2020, right when COVID hit. So that's cool.
No, I didn't realize that. So, oh, wow. Mm-hmm. So what did that mean for your distribution then? Because I mean, how do you get it onto shelves and into people's hands?
Well, more people were concerned with getting toilet paper on the shelf, if you remember.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was
worldwide shortage of toilet paper overnight, wasn't it?
And we were supposed to have like national rollouts in like Whole Foods and Sprouts and all these places. And they had agreed to it, and we were supposed to roll out, I think, in April, second month of lockdown. They were not putting new products on the shelf. And so what we did from day one, thank goodness, we had onboarded Amazon. And from day one, we decided we will not be a D2C company. We were going to go all in on Amazon and make that the new age, right? Like I think in America, 90% of households or something, anywhere from 80 to 90% have Prime in their house. Why not meet the consumer where they are and really lean in and double our customer service team and our just, and it paid off for us. Poppi is the number one soda on Amazon. We've been that way for years.
You dropped that in very casually, right?
I know.
Like I'm the number one soda on Amazon, but you outsell Coke and Pepsi.
We do.
That is insane.
And we have for a really long time. I mean, we've, and then even on the entire platform, because energy is really big on the platform, I think we're around 6th just beverage on the entire platform. And it's because we've leaned in on Amazon and partnered with them. And it's been really amazing for our consumers to be able to get us there, especially in the early days when you couldn't get us at Whole Foods and everyone was ordering on Amazon. And it opened our eyes to be digital first. Something else that really opened our eyes to be digital first was we had filmed an update on Shark Tank the December right before COVID hit. It aired April 2020. Wow. So we had a national commercial where everyone's stuck at home watching TV, second month of business, and it just blew up our sales. And once that went out, the distribution came to like, oh, the brand is here, and we got the rollouts and things really got roaring. Because
I've always wondered about the connection between Shark Tank and sales. Because, in the UK, we have Dragon's Den, which is the same format. And I've always thought, if I do Dragon's Den, I'm going to go on there and turn them down just for publicity.
Yeah, totally.
Because just being on the show, it's millions and millions of people watch. Has being on Shark Tank being a real advantage in terms of getting distribution and getting people behind the brand?
Yeah, especially out the gate. Look, I think when our episode aired, because it was a Friday night, second month of lockdown, we did the Google search. We were trending higher than Donald Trump, Kim Kardashian. We hit number one on Amazon's hot new product list. The shelf was finally grocery stores were like, hey, okay, we get this, let's get this going. So it was really impactful for us. And then on top of it, there's this part of a Shark Tank brand badge of, as a consumer, you walk in, as seen on Shark Tank, people are like, oh, well, if they could get on Shark Tank, I'll give it a try, right? So for the early days, it was really important. Now we've definitely surpassed it. We don't talk about it that much. We don't put it on our POS or packaging anymore. But I think at the early days, it absolutely changed our life and the growth in the beginning. But I think it was the digital first mindset that really set us apart, but it didn't hurt.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that's quite distinctive about you is that you've also grown in social media, haven't you? And you yourself as well, as a founder, you've been the front of the brand very much as well.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious idea because of Shark Tank to almost embody the story that you've been on and kind of embody the brand? Or did it sort of happen by accident?
My background isn't traditional marketing, right? I have no idea what a funnel was or an OTT or OLV or what even linear meant, right? When I first started, I was like, I have no clue about anything. All I knew is I wanted as many people to try and see Poppi as possible. And I love that because kind of all of the traditional ways went out the door because we were having to find a way to scale during COVID. So even the team that was traditional marketers were like, well, my playbook isn't going to work. We were way more open to trying disruptive, throw stuff at the wall, test. I think more than ever, a lot of brands were just trying to survive. And with that, TikTok was a really big piece. So I remember Instagram was all the fad, high static imagery. We were spending a ton of money on stills, no video, right? There was absolutely no video just 4 years ago, if you kind of think about this. It's not that long ago. Yeah. And TikTok was going on, and I was starting to consume it just like as a human, right? I was bored at home during COVID. And I was like, it kind of hit me one night. I was like, I think that we can, as a brand, somehow break through, but it can't just be high gloss. It can't be models. And I was like, I'm not going to take resources from the company. I'm just going to play around with it on the weekends. So I started dancing. I did taco recipes. I did transitions when changing outfits to match my cans. I mean, anything I could do to just kind of see what worked. And you know what worked the best? Was me sitting down and telling my story and just being real and authentic.
Really? As simple as that?
As simple as saying, hey guys, I'm Allison. I'm the founder of Poppi. I was on Shark Tank. This is my product, and telling the ingredients. And I did that one night, posted the video. I woke up at 6 a.m. My phone was blowing up. And we'd gone absolutely viral. We sold over $100,000 on Amazon while we were sleeping. We cleared the grocery store shelves, sold out in all the grocery. Whole Foods. What is going on? Absolutely, no one's like, and no one knew what was happening. That video now has over 150 million views to date. It's still like absolutely still going viral. I have over 2 billion views on TikTok to date. Like. We were like, oh, once again, this really eye-opening moment of if you're just real and authentic and you
That's such a lesson, isn't it? Because you assume you have to do something really crazy to go viral, but as simple as telling your story, that's incredible.
I know. I think people think too much into it.
Yeah.
And the consumer doesn't want that nowadays, right? That's not what that platform is about. You still need to have like high gloss ads on TV and do all that. But I think we adjusted the platform, and I think that was the success. And so I stumbled into accidentally becoming the face.
Yeah.
And being the one where 80% of our ads are still my face on TikTok. We work with creators, of course, and influencers. Yeah. But it was just easy.
It's really interesting.
It was really easy.
Most companies struggle with this because they're too corporate. They kind of use social as a sort of an advertising platform, don't they, rather than being real and authentic. What's after that video, what else would be top of the charts in terms of what's done well?
Yeah, so I think with that, it was always this lens of digital first. So for us, for 2 years, we could not do a sample. We could not do an in real life event, right? Things were just so different. So we leaned in there. Something that we did really well was influencer and creator marketing. So we did a ton of seeding. People were desperate to post stuff that was better for you during the pandemic. So we had like a 90% open rate. If we sent someone Poppi, they were putting it on their Instagram. We had a ton of celebrities that were just organically posting Poppi by themselves. And that was another big thing that I think we always our North Star Poppi for me is the 3 C's. Is it creative? Is it community first? And is it part of culture? So we always say we move at the speed of culture. We move extremely quick. We can pull off anything in about 2 days, sometimes shorter. And so we were just part of culture on TikTok. You have to jump on trends really quick. You have to know who the hottest, newest creator is. You want celebrities talking about it. You want your community to feel like they're part of your community. And I feel like that's always kind of been the secret sauce at Poppi is like, we're not just working with a big celebrity to work with them and giving them a paycheck. Like we want real people that love us to be part of this journey with us. It sounds simple, but
I bet it's not actually.
It's not.
Because I can imagine that you being on the platform yourself every day, you know what's going on, but presumably it's outgrown you now, hasn't it? So you need a team to sort of manage all this. You now need to bring a team around you to help, do what you're doing now. That presents its own challenge, doesn't it?
Well, we have two girlies that post on TikTok out of the office constantly, and our community has fallen in love with them and adored them, and we love doing little Easter eggs. So we just filmed a series of commercials, and we put them in there as Easter eggs so that our TikTok community can go wild. We're always thinking through that lens with it. Even I make a cameo in one of them. And so we have fun with it, and people take it serious because we do great on the organic side, but it is a huge piece of our paid side.
Yeah.
Driving people to our website to purchase, to grow our email and SMS list. We've grown to over 1.2 million in just a few years through this strategy. It's just part of this 360 ecosystem that we kind of think what are we going to do there first? Then that will help dictate what we're going to do on a flavor launch or a big campaign or an out of home. It's it all kind of comes back to this social ecosystem that we've built that's just really it's really important. It's the core of who Poppi is.
Yeah. I mean, something you've done really well as well, get it into people's hands as well, haven't you? And I know when you launch a new flavour, you often put a pop-up, don't you, to create a pop-up experience for people to go to. And explain how that works, because that doesn't just get it into people's hands, it also gets people talking about it on social media as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, so for the first years we couldn't do it, but recently we, for the first time did one, and we saw this outpouring cry of how many people wanted to be with Poppi in real life. So we did our first one in LA in January of this year, and what was the most surprising, we had Paris Hilton DJ, and we had celebrities and influencers come for one night, and then we opened up the community. We had people fly in from Hawaii to come to our pop-up to buy a hoodie and to try our new flavor and to meet me and just to be part of it. We're like, wow, this is special. We had the line, people were waking up at 6 a.m. Over 5,000 people came over a period of 2 days. They were like, okay, this is cool, which led into why we're like, there's something we got to do. What's the next breakthrough thing, which is Super Bowl, which I know we'll get to. And then the next one we just did in New York Fashion Week. And what I love about it is we get better each time. So we learn this what works. We always do that social ecosystem. Why do people get canceled online for 4 pop-ups? And it's not programming the line. So we really took that serious, and we programmed our line, and we had 50 Cent perform at this one, and we launched our new flavor, Cherry Cola. And it's through this cultural first lens. So we pick tent poles. So for example, New York Fashion Week, everyone's already there for it. So I think that's a really big piece with pop-ups. I always try to give advice to other brands is don't pick a random weekend and you think you're going to have to fly. Meet the hottest, coolest people where they're already at, right? They're going to come, create a space that they want to come to create content. So we do a beautiful build out, video first, content corners everywhere. Then get some key anchor people there. So we had 50 Cent perform, we had Enrada, we had the Love Island crew from Leah to Cordell, all of this amazing people. Then all of a sudden we had people reaching out that we were not paying. They're like, can I come to your party? So much so that we were the hottest, coolest party at New York Fashion Week, and we are a soda.
That's insane, isn't it?
So it's an experience that we're always just trying to create. Going back to, is it creative? Is it culture first? And is it community first?
Now, the other thing that slightly blew my mind when we met in Austin a few weeks ago was the merch that you create. Not only is it really cool and very on trend, but you're going to turn it into an actual line as well, aren't you? That's for sale.
So during the whole virality of TikTok, it was another really big passion of mine is I hate it when brands put a logo on a t-shirt that everyone has, and nobody wants to wear that. It's very salesy, it's corporate, and so I was I had this obsession to find a manufacturer to cut, sew, dye, customize merch for us. So we started going down this road. Everyone told me I was absolutely crazy, but we support crazy at Poppi. We love it. And we created our own line. Even at our pop-up that we just did, we had 22 pieces of merch that we sold out over a period of 24. We sold out 2 hours online, and then 24 hours at the pop-up. We were we got to get more. But it's become this brand affinity for our community and for our creators. So it just kept going viral, so much so that you're the first person I'm telling this to, which is really
breaking
exciting.
News, ladies and gentlemen, it's breaking.
Target reached out to us and said, hey, you guys are one of our best-selling beverages at Target. Will you do a line in Target and do a hype drop with us? So we're so excited. We are dropping our own apparel line with Target and every single Target in January and February of this year. And nobody does that. Once again, these things are
not a soda kind of thing to do, is it?
It's not normal.
No.
It's so cool.
And how did you decide on the line that you're going to, if you can say, how did you pick the merch that's going to appear in Target?
So Poppi, we kind of have this creative agency within that I run. So I run our creative brand. I have an incredible creative directors and designers, and we even have on staff a head of product development for apparel, right? It's just become a pillar of Poppi as what people want. And so for us, when we were creating it, we wanted to give our community pieces from our archives that they weren't able to get because they were really viral and sold out really quick. We want to make it more affordable and just kind of really on brand evergreen. So we usually do it around a hype launch of Cherry and everything's red. This is going to be more of an evergreen line of just our OG stuff that people can get, which I think that they're really going to love. And it's going to be great quality at a great affordable price for the Target consumer. And we're excited. And we're going to be launching a new flavor with it that's exclusive that you can only get with the line.
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. I wanted to ask you about flavours actually,
Yeah.
because you've got an amazing array of flavours. How do you choose like what to launch, or what goes into the process of picking a new flavour?
Back in the day, it was all about taste. The first original like 9 flavors were me and my husband in the kitchen playing around, right? Now we have a very sophisticated innovation team. We have like PhD scientists that work full time. We have a lab in Austin that we're always innovating. But still, honestly, it comes down to flavor. Yeah. So they might say, hey, this is a huge category. It's whatever within soda and we need it. If it doesn't taste good, we're not going to launch it.
And funnily enough, I know this because I spent most of my career actually working at Britvic in the UK, which is part of Pepsi, or Pepsi bottle of the UK. Every single bit of research we did, whether it's a healthy beverage or whatever, taste was number one.
Yeah.
Like every single time. And literally, if you did the taste test and you ranked the flavours, that's exactly how they'd end up selling. You can't beat flavour. And that's what I thought was interesting about what you did, because when it was Mother, it was very much apple cider vinegar led, wasn't it? Led on the benefits, flavour second. Whereas now you're all flavour first, and you almost discover the prebiotic benefit second, don't you?
That's exactly the consumer journey that I want. I want someone to like go to the shelf, get Poppi, and go, this is so cute packaging. It matches my outfit. I want to be seen drinking it. I want to be part of this brand. I want to drink it and go, wow, that tastes so good and just refreshing. Oh, I want that with my burger. I want it with pizza. And then I want to look at the ingredients and go, whoa, this is good for me too. Yeah. Like that is an intentional thing that we get across in all the stuff that we do, right? I feel like if you lead with like ingredients, it just becomes very boring. You're not a brand, you're a product. And of course, Poppi, we always want to be like brand first.
It makes so much sense. I mean, I've worked for 2 of the world's biggest soft drink companies, and both of them had exactly the same mission, which is basically, because if you look at reasons why people buy, it's taste, refreshment, health. And then beyond there, you've got energy and a few other things, right? Everybody is trying to combine, it tastes great, it refreshes me, and it's healthy. And that's the thing that
hard.
No one's been able to do that. And that's where I think you've
Poppi
got that.
Has,
exactly. No, but that I think is where you've landed the sweet spot, which is, I want it to taste great. I want it to be refreshing, but I want it to be good as well. Yeah.
And it's so funny because we talk about modern soda. So we have the traditional soda flavors. Like we have the root beer and the cola, we have Doc Pop. You know, you could argue orange and grape are traditional soda flavors, but our number one selling SKU is our strawberry lemon. This one that you're drinking is our raspberry rose. It's one of our top SKUs. So in my head, we are defining a new category for the next generation of soda drinkers, and modern soda can be a strawberry lemon Poppi. We've created a category of functional pop that did not exist 4 or 5 years ago, right? If you look and you can pull this on the data, it's a new category that's hit over $1 billion in 5 years, right? Between us and some others. And it feels like there was nowhere to put us on the grocery store shelf when we first started Poppi. Now we have what are called modern soda sets. The retailers have leaned in, but we created a category that did not exist. And I always say that to other entrepreneurs that are wanting to start something or do something. We created something that did not exist 4 years ago, and look at the movement and what the grocery store is kind of like leaned on us. Like, what do we do? Where do you guys want to be on the shelf? And we've worked together for 4 years to define what this new category is. And it's exciting to see.
That is so key, actually, isn't it? Because you've got to give the retailer a reason to put something different on the shelf. And if you can say we're building a category that people will be coming in looking for it, and it's incremental to all the other sodas and energy drinks and health drinks out there, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Very, very exciting. So how many retailers are you in now?
Oh, we're in all the major retailers in the U.S., from the Targets to Walmarts, the Costco's, Kroger's, Albertsons. I would say probably over 50,000, with our 7-Eleven and convenience stores. And then we are in Canada. We're just launching there. We're in a lot of the major retailers out there. Costco really is our anchor out there. And then now we're looking definitely at international at some point. But there's just, 4 years in the U.S. There's still a lot of work to do. And, a big piece that I love that we're just now getting into is we just launched with Chipotle, right? When you drink Poppi, it really, if you think of soda, you usually want it with a meal, right?
Yeah.
And so how can we find more partnerships where we are adjacent to food? So we just launched in all the Chipotle. So that's where a lot of opportunity for growth for us that we're excited about.
And that makes sense, actually, because when you don't really want a high sugar drink when you're eating food, because it takes away from the pleasure of eating food, doesn't it? So I can see that match. And also it's really hard to get into those kind of places because they'll often have only 2 or 3 options for a drink.
They have some ironclad contracts as well.
They do.
Yeah.
That's true, actually, because I think more in the US, probably more than any other market I've ever worked in, it's really owned by like the Coke and the Pepsi system and Dr. Pepper as well. They really own the fixtures and the contracts. So it's, how do you break in amongst all that? That's a big challenge.
We get creative. So we just launched, we're the official soda of the Los Angeles Lakers.
And this is new news, isn't it, as well?
Brand
this is just
new
literally breaking as well.
And we just get creative with it. We find ways that we can be the next soda. And we're seeing these people like the Lakers that are culturally relevant are wanting to lean into this new age modern soda for the next generation. So I think Poppi has grown. I think we're in 1 in 10 households in America. We're making waves. We're building this new category. This stuff will just come with time. And it's, there's really, if you think of soda, it hasn't been disrupted since the Diet Coke craze, right? So we'll just continue to push. And, I think if we can get into more music venues and sporting, all of those things, I think could be really exciting.
So you've done an incredible job of making it available, but you've also taken the massive step as well as going on to the Super Bowl just 4 years after launch.
Yes.
I can't imagine there are many brands that have gone 4 years in, we're going Super Bowl. I mean, that's and you didn't just go 30 seconds, by the way, did you?
No,
you
we
went
did 60,
which is a lot of money.
Yes.
How did you come to make that decision to go, you know what, we're going to go Super Bowl, not just 30?
We just felt last year was our year to go Super Bowl. And sometimes the best things at Poppi kind of come last minute. So to add to that, we had been talking about Super Bowl for a while, but it is scary. It is a lot of money. It's it's a sustaining after, right? Everyone thinks like you do a Super Bowl and then you have to be able to sustain that media afterwards. There's a lot that goes into it and the planning and retail and inventory, right? But we created this piece of content and we did not create it as a Super Bowl ad. And that's why I think the piece of content is so good, because we wanted to find a way to introduce Poppi on the big screen to the next level of what are we if we're not on social media. And we created this anthemic piece of the future soda now, and it's called Poppi. And we tested it on the Grammys and a couple big, reality show premieres, and it was testing through the roof. Like, absolutely, people were connecting with it. I was getting texts, I just saw you on this. And so then we were like, let's go buy a Super Bowl ad. We could not find one, right? We could not. They were sold out. If you keep in mind, it was the writer's strike. No new TV. Like, it was like one of the only live new TVs that you could buy advertising on. So it was like one of the hottest Super Bowls. It was the Taylor Kelsey effect.
And it smashed all records as well, didn't it? The last one. It was just insane. The viewing.
Was so hard. Yeah, it was the most viewed Super Bowl of all time.
All time, wasn't it? And I think it was the most viewed event since the moon landing. Or
Holy
something
crap.
Crazy like that.
Isn't that wild? And
120 million people all watching live.
I mean, and a lot of people also don't know, which, I'm sure you know, but if you buy through the network, you have to do a match. So you might buy the ad, but then you have to match that same and run it. And then we're just like, well, we can't do that. So we had to find it on the remnant market. And I do a lot with TikTok. I'm on this like TikTok collective, and I was at dinner, and I look at someone next to me and joking around. I go, do you got a Super Bowl ad? And he's like, actually, I think I do. And he like sent a few texts. We got him on with our CMO, Andy, the next day, and we bought a Super Bowl the Thursday before Super Bowl. So
As in 3 days.
As in 3 days before the Super Bowl.
Whatever you had to pay 3 days before.
Yep.
Wow.
But
and did you know when it, because one of the mysteries is when it's, because Super Bowl happens over quite a few hours, right? So did you get to pick when it's
So no, it was a floater ad. Oh my God, you're going to love this story. So it was a floater ad. We had no idea when it was going to do it. So we get it. We're excited about the creative. We're activating on the social side. So we're pulling together influencers to be going to you're right. We're activating on social. I'm going to shoot content. We're pulling all this together in like 3 days, right? We had, previous to that, found a spot that would play if it went into overtime. There had been no overtime Super Bowls in the last 50 years. So we're like, well, that's not going to happen, right? Whatever. So we traded that off and we got this one. It was a floater ad. It could also air when it says like the fireworks. Thank you for watching the NFL. It just had to play before that. It happened to play 1 minute before Usher went on. And so how you said it was the most viewed Super Bowl, we were the most viewed Super Bowl ad at that Super Bowl. So in our head, we totally made this up. It makes so much sense, but we're the most viewed Super Bowl ad of all time.
That's a pretty good, I think that's pretty good maths on that. So you're just before the halftime show when Usher came on.
Right
which
when
is
Usher
the
came
most
on,
premium bit. That's the bit
premium.
Everybody is watching, isn't it?
And it comes down to how many timeouts or injuries. Like there's no way to predict it.
Yeah.
And it aired. It was so successful. It broke through. We got on like Ad Age, like top lists and like all of the stuff that you could ever dream of. Our household penetration tripled overnight. It was just such a breakthrough moment for the brand. And the funny part to the story is it ended up going into overtime. So
you could have got it anyway. Yeah,
we would have got it.
That's
No, but it wouldn't have been the same time. Nobody would have watched it the same.
You couldn't have beaten halftime show, which is incredible. Not. Where were you when it played out? Were you at the Super Bowl?
I went to the Super Bowl, because in Poppi fashion, we had to figure out a way to bring it alive on, being there. So I was there. I was waiting for my team to FaceTime me. I was going to be like at the Super Bowl, and we were filming it, and that absolutely went viral as well. And
that must be quite a moment as a founder to be really at the Super Bowl, which is amazing anyway.
It was pretty.
To see your brand on TV.
It's funny because everyone's like, are you just stopping to smell the roses? These pinch me moments.
Yeah.
And when you're moving and going this quick, you don't really do that. But I will say that moment at that, we were screaming and then ushers coming on. It was just, that was like probably top 3 moments at Poppi, 100%.
Amazing. Yeah. I wanted to ask, because you've achieved so much in a short space of time. What's the journey been like in terms of you've gone from, as you describe it, you and your husband kind of designing it sounds like in the kitchen and making it yourselves. You're now in charge of a pretty big operation that, hundreds of people and distributing 50,000 stores. So what's it been like to go from kind of you basically being in charge to then suddenly you're leading a whole team?
Well, it's so funny because, it was 2 employees when we started, and now we're over 200. We're going to grow to over 300, I'm sure, through the year. And I think it is pretty special that we were able to create all these jobs and all of that. But with that comes, I'd never been a leader before. Right. I was an entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur, most of the time we're kind of hard to work with. And I didn't know what team meant. I didn't understand you can't tell people that's a really bad idea because it can hurt their feelings, stuff like that. So for me as a leader, that's been a really big journey for me, that I've really become in love with that learning experience, because I had to learn, my ego, my way isn't always the best way. And that's to admit that and have that self-awareness. Sometimes it's still hard. But I had to get coaching and figure out how, 360s and really understand that. And so much so that with the kind of growth that we've had, it's not normal. And it's not even normal for people that have probably been in the industry for a while. So both my husband and I, we realized that kind of early on. And as a team collectively, we were like, hey, we have to bring in people that have done this before. So my husband was the CEO. He stepped down. We brought in a CEO that had been doing it for years. It was really hard.
That must be so hard because they're not going to do it like you do it, right?
No, and it was hard for him at first as well, because he wasn't used to doing things so differently. And so that took some time for us to adjust. And now we vacation together. We're best, but we worked on it, right? Same thing happened, a year ago. I was running all of our marketing, and then we brought in a CMO. Same situation where we kind of had to work through it. Now, once again, it's the best of both worlds. But I don't think, entrepreneurs talk about that enough.
Yeah, I agree.
And that hardship of, it's way better to be part of that decision than that decision to be put on you, and know that it's not easy at all. But if you work through it and it's what's best for the business and the employees at the end of the day for growth, and still sometimes I'm like, ugh, I just wish it could be old school. Not my way, but I'm just just do it. Let's move quick, the corporate and the process and all of that. But I guess process is good. So.
and what's the trick to making that work then? When you're bringing a new team in, you're delegating responsibility, whereas you've been make a decision now, that's where we go. What's the lesson in terms of what can people learn from making that work?
I think for us, we're just super hyper aware of keeping our entrepreneurial spirit. So from leadership with our new CEO and all of our senior leadership, and as we're growing, they don't want to lose what's made Poppi special. Yeah. But we love to say it's the 80-20 rule. It's let's 80% get our shit together, have a calendar, have process and all of that, but then leave that 20% for that disruptive. We love black ops budgets. We love going crazy and testing. We kind of can't lose that secret special sauce. And as a team, we've just all held hands. And that's what keeps me going. If we were full process and everything, it would be a lot harder. Yeah. But we believe in that, and that's part of our DNA. Makes it easy. Kind of.
Well, it's hard though, isn't it? Because you've got the benefit of being agile and just jumping on trends and deciding on what you're going to do. But now you've got scale, and you've got retailers to keep in stock, and you've got service levels to worry about, and you've got lots, you've got more activity than you can, do yourself, haven't you? So it's a very, very different challenge. And I think that's sort of what a lot of founders really struggle with this bit, isn't it? Is getting to that scale and transitioning from the, startup doing it yourself to the big, business.
It's absolutely not normal. And I think that even the veteran leaders at our company, they've never experienced what's happened either. And so for them, it's exciting and new learning opportunity, right? This is like a career. Anyone that can work at Poppi, it is a career making job. I mean, when we post like a job, like if we'll need like a new designer, because like on my team, I'm always like trying to find creatives, and I will say we're like best in class when it comes to creative and social force and all this. We'll put an ad up, we get like 10 to 20,000 resumes within like 24. I mean, it is so difficult to like weed through and do all of that, and it's very overwhelming with it, and its culture is a huge piece. At Poppi we do a ton of culture surveys, internal surveys, a lot of brand building, team building, like all of that stuff. So
what do you look for in the people you hire? So what would you see in somebody to make you think they are a Poppi employee? I
think self-leadership, ability to move quickly and not be dependent on your leader telling you, right? I think that's a hard trait to find in people, because I think in corporate jobs or bigger companies, you kind of just want people doing what they're told. Well, we might tell you to do something and 3 hours later it's changed because we're moving so quick. So you have to be able to adapt, change, and then not get stressed through that, but also be organized and get stuff done.
Yes.
It's almost what we call is this like unicorn of a person. It's almost like little entrepreneurs within Poppi that are highly specialized. We're at the point where we do want like more specialized. It's not like I do everything. Like that's not sustainable. So we look for our little unicorn entrepreneurs that kind of can think and be disruptive. And I always love my favorite ideas or my favorite campaigns. I'm not the one that came up with them. We've had like people and brainstorms that have come up with really fun ideas that were just like a new intern on the team or the new sales hire, right? I think that's a big part of what we look for.
That does make a lot of sense. And it's quite rare to find that creativity combined with the ability to execute. And it's those two things, isn't it, that is quite rare to find in people. Some people are great at following orders and getting stuff done. Some people are great at coming up with ideas, and you need to kind of blend the two together. We're
also like 70% female at Poppi, including our sales team. So in beverage, it's not super normal to have like a heavy female base, but since our brand just like screams that, it's easy. Our chief of sales is like a female, right? So I think that piece, as well as, women get shit done.
Yeah, that is true. That's very, very true. So looking back, what's been the hardest thing about this journey for you? Because it can't have been smooth sailing given the scale at which you've expanded. What's been the toughest bit?
No, I think the toughest bit has been letting go, kind of what I spoke to, but also seeing it grow and making sure it stays on brand. Like I am so hardcore with, is that on brand or is that not on brand? And we're getting to the point where I can't control it anymore. And everybody else, I want everyone to be as intense as me when it comes to the brand, because for long-term growth and success, that is key. So that's like what keeps me up at night. That's my constant like North Star, is like everything through every lens. Is that on brand for Poppi? And if it's not, we're not doing it. Even if it's the most insane, amazing opportunity to be at XYZ party, this, whatever. But if it's like super off brand, we're not going to do it. And it's really hard, I think, to scale that and that thinking. After a while, people are like, oh, it's just this, it's fine. And then you're like showing up at really random places. And, like for me, it's keeping the brand true.
That's hard as well, because you ooze it, because obviously it's your creation, you know it inside out, exactly instinctively. But for someone new starting, they're not going to have that kind of awareness, are they? So it becomes much, much more difficult.
Yeah, so watching things change or not getting stressed out or freak out when I see stuff in retail of like some distributor will design something and they'll put like cans on it that we discontinued 4 years ago. And I'm like, what is going on? It's like seeing that stuff. It's like, okay, calm down. It's okay. We'll talk to them. They'll get it. Whereas before I'd be like driving to that store to rip it down. So no, it's been hard, with that, but it's just, to me, it comes down to all that means to me is like, I'm still very passionate about the business and there's still a lot to do. And I'm excited to see it still grow.
Now you're in a really, really unique position here. As you said, probably the most fastest growing successful startup, for an independent startup in soft drinks. If you were starting something today, right here, right now, what would you do? Now, I don't mean in terms of like what would you create, but what would be your advice to making something work?
Yeah, so there's two things. I would 100% recommend getting on TikTok today. I think a lot of brands think it has to be perfect, or you have to have someone help you, or an intern or someone else run it for you. I say like, hey, they're like, well, I don't know what the logo is going to look like. Get on and ask. Show the two logos. Have people vote. What color should I do? Like back in the day, if we were on white cans or colored cans, ask, get on. And all that does is you might get 2 views. You could get 200 views. But look, I'm at 2 billion views, right? Like you kind of have to start somewhere. So that's always a really big piece of advice. And it's okay if you don't want to be the face of the company. There's so many ways you can get creative within it, and just showing the product, or having your employees do it, or asking, someone else that wants to do it. You can hire people now that will be like a face of your brand. I'm not even kidding you. So like, don't think that there's not a way. And then I think for me, a really big one is like, my favorite quote is like, if you get no, you're talking to the wrong person. So something that I've always learned is no is not always a bad thing. And I know everyone's like, oh, sales, yeah, we've heard this before. But you have to figure out a way to get the yes without bulldozing. So I think if you can find a way to get your way kindly, persuasive, as a good leader, is way more effective than trying to do it by bulldozing and just like telling people what to do. So with business, it's like, get on social, never take no, say yes and figure it out later, and be kind along the way.
That's good tactic, actually, because everyone hates that stereotypical salesman type approach, which is just like badgering you constantly about why you should buy, rather than kind of thinking about what the customer needs and how to get around their objections and think creatively.
Find a way.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good advice. Well, listen, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's really inspiring. So I've spent a lot of years in this category, and it's just amazing to see what you've done in a short space of time.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
So here's
Cheers.
the future, and here's hopefully to a few more uncensored CMO TikToks, because
Absolutely.
I've been getting a masterclass from the
We're on
the
it.
one herself. So
excited.
So it's coming to a TikTok near you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you very much for listening or watching Uncensored CMO. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please do hit the subscribe button wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching, hit subscribe there as well. I'd also love to get a review. Reviews make a big difference on other people discovering the show. So please do leave a review wherever you get your podcast. If you want to contact me, you can do. I'm over on X at UncensoredCMO, or on LinkedIn, where I'm under my own name, John Evans. Thanks for listening and watching. I'll see you next time.